Hello, hello, everybody. It's Sharon here from Content Sparks, and we are ready to go. So, we have a very, very jam packed session today, and I'm going to be moving along really quickly, diving in quickly. So, I hope you can keep up. I'd like to do a sound check first, make sure that you can hear me. Drop a post, drop a link, or sorry, drop a comment in the comments that you can hear me so we can move right in. I'm going to be sharing my screen, going back and forth. I prepared a whole bunch of prompts, a whole prompt series that I loaded in advance so that we don't have to wait for ChatGPT to go through things. But the focus today is going to be on using ChatGPT, and I'm using ChatGPT 4. Excellent. I see John, and you can hear me. Awesome. So I'm going to demo all of that, show you it, and I'll also show you a glimpse at our new release today, which is called the Website Planning Workshop for Beginners. I'll show you the bonuses for that, one of which will be all the prompts plus more that I'm going to be showing you today. So you might want to take some notes, but keep an eye on that as well. And everybody is asking and said, will the YouTube video be available? Yes. Basically, as soon as this is done, it should be available so that you can watch the replay however much you want. And Barbara is here as well. Good to see you, Barb. I will keep kind of an eye on the comments, but I'm going to be sharing my screen and my slides too, so I won't always see them. I'll try and switch back and forth to keep an eye on that to see if I'm going too fast. And just a quick comment, I'm not going to be spending a lot of time on the whole thing with our launch today, but you'll want to pick that up afterwards. The pretty link is contentsparks.com/website planning. So that is, it's called Website Planning Workshop for Beginners, and it's hands-on, really step-by-step to help people who aren't necessarily tech savvy. It could be, but there's a lot of stuff involved in planning out a website, and this goes through all of it, from the goal to who your audience is, why are you doing it, all the different key pages, the organization, the navigation, all the things that you want to do, whether you know the tech side or not. And then you can decide, do I outsource it? Do I do it myself? If you're outsourcing it, what do you want to be looking for? Tips for launching it, getting visibility. So it's a really great workshop. And even people who are website developers themselves might want to use this to get people to do that initial thinking that can be so time consuming. So that's the URL. And like I said, all the prompts I'm going to be going through today with ChatGPT, you will get in a bonus if you get that. Otherwise, you can watch the replay. Okay, so I'm going to hide that and head straight in, see if there are any more comments. Connie's here. Hi, Connie. Good to see you as well. And let's just start sharing the screen and dive right in. All right. So this is just a sales page. So you'll see that if you go to that link. But I'm going to head right over to my slides, which are over here. Okay. So everybody should be able to see that as well. It says how to use ChatGPT to create an online course and the shortcut to doing it faster, which you probably already have an idea of what that is. Okay. So actually, I'm going to also hide myself so I'm not too distracting there as well. Oh, move that out of the way. Okay. So then you can see the full screen. All right. So how to use ChatGPT to create an online course and the shortcut to doing it faster. So firstly, if you don't know what ChatGPT 4 is, that is the newest version, and that is what I'm going to be using. So it is paid access for now. You have to upgrade to GPT Plus, which is only $20 a month. So if it saves you even a few minutes per month, it's worth doing. And the output is far better than in the default version. You also get priority access, You get better quality output. Like I said, you get beta features like this browse with Bing and who knows what else they're there's plugins and stuff. And that's $20 a month. Or if you're somewhere where there's VAT, it ends up being $24 a month. I'm actually getting it for my team and training them on how to use it ethically, responsibly, more for idea generation. So you'll see some of that. We don't use it to actually write stuff. And there are some pros and cons for using GPT for course creation. So the pros are it stimulates your creativity. You can expand on current content. So if you have kind of an outline or something existing, you can ask GPT to expand on it so that you can kind of see what details you might have missed, remind you of different points. So you really need to know your topic, but this will help remind you of points you missed. And it makes it really easy to tailor it to different audiences. So even if you're not creating a course from scratch, say you're using one of ours, which will save you a lot of time, it makes it faster to actually tailor it to your audience because we try to keep it relatively generic. The cons is it's not really up-to-date information. So you're not going to get the latest trending topics and details. You're not going to get facts that you can rely on. It can make things up. Remember also its database still goes to September 2021. So that's pretty out of date. But for evergreen topics and for ideas, it works really well. And then you can always cross-check with something like just Google or Bing, which also is a little limited, but I'm not going to go into that in this particular presentation. So like I said, it can make things up. It might use bad sources. So you don't know when it does look at things, whether it's pulling from a good source. Again, you are responsible for that. It isn't you. So it's not your voice, no matter how much you push it and teach it the tone and perspective and everything else that you want it to sound like. It isn't you, and you need to go in and inject that, your personality. So you'll see that in some of the output, but it's still really useful. Now, just a warning case, which you may have already seen since it's been running rampant on the internet and everywhere else. This is a case story of what happens when your lawyer uses ChatGPT. So there was a lawsuit recently where a lawyer was suing an airline because of an injury that he'd had. And the lawyer put together his whole brief with his sample cases based on using ChatGPT. And he'd never used it before, so he had no clue that ChatGPT could just make things up. And when he submitted it, the other team, the other lawyers, the judge couldn't find the cases that he cited anywhere. I mean, it was beautifully constructed. And they just didn't exist. ChatGPT just made them up. And he even asked ChatGPT whether they were real cases, and it answered yes. So this is a warning that you have to be aware of, that you need to learn how to use it. Ignorance is not an excuse. All right. This is something that's not going away. It is evolving. There'll be more and more legal things drawn up, rules around it, but you have to learn how to use it responsibly and ethically and effectively as we move along. It's kind of like when the computer came out and everybody just had to learn how to use it properly. And the internet, people still don't know how to use the internet very well and what's a good source and what isn't, but you're going to learn how to do it. And anyone who works for you, any team members, have to learn how to use it. So the solution to those hallucinations, as they call them, with ChatGPT is, one, you can try other AI tools. So you can use Bard, Google's Bard, which right now is also evolving, doesn't have as much of a database of good quality content. It tends to come out with something a little different, not as many details. So use that once in a while too, to start so that it can learn, and you can just get a different perspective, I guess you'd call it. So it'll draw on different things, like you might ask it for a list of tools, and it'll come up with one set. But then you can go into ChatGPT 4 and use the web browsing mode, and it'll come up with other things with more descriptions. And of course, you need to check actual links and sources. So GPT-4 does have a web browsing mode where they also link to the sources. But you need to check those. Who knows whether they're real, whether it's a broken link, who it's coming from. So you are responsible for the information and the insights you provide. All right, so that's all I'm going to say about that. Well, it may not be the only thing I say about that. I may continue. So I'm going to go through step by step for creating a course. And I'm going to switch back and forth, like I said, to ChatGPT. And we're going to start with defining your course audience. This is always essential with any course, whether you're creating it from scratch, whether you're using one that's white label like ours. You need to know. You need to know it if you're designing from scratch, because obviously you're going to gear everything, your whole design, to that. You need to know it for using a white label one, because you need to be able to customize it. And when you put that into ChatGPT before you start designing or editing, it will remember what you've said. So you can start by getting some details if you don't already have them. If you have details about your target audience, put it in. Say, my target audience is this person, they have this need and that challenge and these demographics. Give it as much detail. If you need help actually honing that, you can ask ChatGPT. So here I'm going to ask, I'm going to say I'm in a certain profession and ask it, who's my target audience? What are their challenges, goals, and interests? And then have it create 3 different ideal student profiles. So let's hop over to the chat over here, and you should be able to see my chat. When you first go into sign up for ChatGPT, if you haven't done it already, you will see a place somewhere near the bottom, I think, to sign up for GPT Plus. And that's what's going to give you an option at the top. So if I go into a new chat on the top left here, you'll see there are 2 options, 3.5, which it says is fastest. And yeah, it is fast for its output, because it's kind of not drawing and thinking as much, drawing in as much stuff. Or GPT-4, which is what I always use now. And the default is the main one you're going to use. The browse with Bing, I've been testing a little bit. Sometimes it times out, but that's more if you want to look up stuff on the web. So we're going to stick with the default one. And I've already started those prompts so we're not wasting time watching it. So let me go back to that, and it should be here. I might have to reload it. Give me a second. If worst comes to worst, I do have it over. No, it's there. I also always copy them. And there are some extensions. There's one called AI PRM where you can export it, but I just copy and paste it into a Google Doc when I'm all done. Here, let me go up and go up to the top. All right. So I've said, I just kind of took a random niche here. And I said, I'm a business coach who helps retirees start a new home-based business to earn extra income. Who is my target audience and what are their challenges, goals, and interests? This little thing, please write in a friendly tone, instructive writing style, English language. That actually was added in from a plugin I was using called AI PRM, which automatically adds into your prompt the tone that you set. I turned that off because it can be a little bit distracting, but that's why that says that there. You're going to always want to tell it what tone you want. So here's the answer I got. And you can see that it said, it gives me a little background, how I should be thinking as a business coach for retirees looking to start a home-based business. Your target audience is pretty clearly defined. Individuals who've recently retired or those nearing the retirement age. However, let's delve a bit deeper and identify their challenges, goals, and interests, etc. And it lists them out. Challenges, technological skills, starting from scratch, limited resources, health and energy levels, which is interesting. So if you're working with new retirees, what kind of goals might they have? Supplementing income, keeping busy, legacy building, independence. And interests, they might be interested in learning new skills, leveraging their experience, networking, giving back. Now, this is what ChatGPT is saying could be your target audience. You have to then confirm that. So this is where you're getting some ideas, and you might want to go out and ask your audience some questions to really confirm that. And if you're not sure what questions to ask, you could also ask ChatGPT, what questions can I ask my target audience in order to confirm or prioritize these needs? Try out some different prompts there. And it says, remember your role as business coaches to guide them through these challenges, align your solutions with their goals, understand their interests, etc. So once you're sure that that's right, say now create 3 different ideal student profiles for my audience. And it comes up with 3 different ones. So, and they're all slightly different. So we have Sarah, who recently retired as a high school teacher, lacks experience with online platforms, would benefit from learning basic technological skills. So, what kind of things they could learn. And then we have David, who's an outgoing retiree who had a successful career as a sales executive. So they're going to have different sorts of needs. Was passionate about organic gardening. So really detailed stuff. Now, this isn't necessarily true for your audience. These are examples. So again, you've got a nice structure here, and then you'd want to change it to what yours is before you get into designing. So these are examples, what they could help in, he could use help in creating a business plan. Mary was a corporate lawyer. She might have the financial resources, but she's wary about unpredictability. She wants to go into consulting. So 3 great examples. Again, you want to see which one is yours and revise it. And then you could go in and say, okay, my target audience is XYZ. But I'm just going to, for purposes of the demo, I'm going to say, okay, let's focus on number 3, Mary as my ideal student. What are some creative topics for courses that would help people like her? So here's where you can get course topic ideas. So I didn't specify a number. I could have said, what are 7, what are 10 course topic ideas? But I just said, give me some. So it said, let's think about them. Mary's a tech-savvy retired corporate lawyer interested in starting a legal consulting service from home. So if you were, say, starting from scratch, you didn't need the target audience information, you could just ask it as that. My audience is blah, blah, blah. I am, this is my profession. You can tell it to act like a business coach who works with retirees who are looking to start a career in consulting. They are professionals. They have a high income, so they can invest. So give as many details as possible, and then say, what are some creative topics for courses that would help them? And it'll give you a base. So here it's given things like setting up a home-based legal consultancy, branding your legal expertise, marketing strategies for legal consultants, all very tailored to that, but general topics: client relationship management, consulting ethics, work-life balance, building a legacy business. All could be interesting. But what order should I teach them in? Which one is most likely? So I ask, which topics would people like Mary be most interested in? Rank them in order of interest and summarize what each course would need to cover. Now, it's put some things in order here, saying setting up the business. Okay, that makes sense as a first one. Effective marketing strategies, it's saying is number 2. Branding, number 3. Client relationship management, ethics, work-life balance. Now, with your own expertise in this, you need to look at that and say, is that right? Is that what really makes sense? I could see the setting up would be, but I wouldn't jump into effective marketing strategies until I figured out branding. So I would have moved that up. And then, of course, there's what's in here, setting up. It says conducive workspace, necessary equipment and software, developing efficient work from home habits. Those are not really the most important things for setting up the business. So, you're getting some order here, but you're using your knowledge, your judgment to figure out what should really go in there. that we could drill down on that and keep asking ChatGPT, say, I want to cover this, this, and this in the course, like setting the goals and deciding who their target audience is, who's going to be the client for the legal consultancy. That's more important than setting up a conducive workspace from the start. So you're getting ideas, but you're not going to use them exactly. So now I'm saying, I'm just going to pick one. So I said, and actually let's go back into my slides a second so I can see where we are in there. All right, so we defined the course audience. We picked a course topic. So I said you can act as a certain role, right? Which topics would be most interested in. So we went through that. And you can, like I said, continue that conversation of let's focus on this. You could also go into that browse with Bing and see things like what are some competing courses. And that gets a little tricky. You can also go into Bing chat. So I did try to do that. Let me go back a second. Let's not lose our place here, but I went into here. I tried to ask ChatGPT, and that, if you can see at the top, it says model web browsing. And I asked, I said, I'm creating course for new retirees who want to start home-based business. What are some existing courses on branding? Because that's the one I'm going to focus on for new business owners that I might have to compete with. Provide a brief summary of the contents of each course. So it spent a little while. This is a slow thing, so I'm definitely not going to demo it. It starts searching and clicking, and it'll tell you what's going on. So if I click this down arrow, you can see its whole history of what it was browsing at. It looked at the branding journal and read the content. It looked at brand management, Coursera, more stuff in Coursera it looked at. So you can see it pulled a lot of stuff from Coursera, and some of the content reading it failed. But it came out with some different courses that are out on the web that could be competitors. So this can be really useful for doing some background research also before you start creating your course. And again, this could work with white label courses also if you have a topic and you want to see what could be some competition, because it gives a little bit of a summary. And what's nice is it has a little thing here where you can click on and go to the source. So you can check that on any of them. So if I click on that one, which I have not tried doing yet, so let's hope this works. It is loading up the branding journal and saying best online branding courses and MOOCs in 2023. So this is taken from something else. It'll give you a little bit of information. So that's a helpful article, right? So let's go back to our chat demo and go back to where we were, which is way up. You can see I have a lot to go through. So I'll go through as much as I can in our limited time. Hang on. It's not always so easy to scroll up in here. So it's easy to jump down to the bottom, but it's not easy to jump to the top. My little arrow. Okay. So we were picking one on branding. All right. So if we look at the slides, we picked the course topic, right? Are you guys all following along? I can kind of see your comments, and I know I'm going fast. But now we're going to go into designing the course. Okay. Okay. Siobhan's here. Great. All right. Just leave me a comment. I am keeping an eye if I'm just whizzing through way too fast and you have a question on something. So this is a really interesting part on designing a course. Once you know who your target audience is, you have a topic, you drill down a little bit, try and narrow that down, you can ask it to design a course based on different design models. I'm going to use Bloom's taxonomy. So if you don't have any experience with instructional design, You can look up some different things, but Bloom's taxonomy is a pretty standard one. There's some others I can't think of right now. There's ADDIE, there's problem solution based. There's a bunch of different ones. So I'm going to use Bloom's taxonomy, which is based on it measures people's level of understanding, going from just understanding to being able to observe it, to being able to implement it, things like that. So I picked the course on branding, and the basic prompt is, can you help me design a 5-lesson online course on what your topic is using Bloom's taxonomy? So it will understand that since it's a standard instructional design model. The course should help, and here's where you want to get specific, who your audience is, be able to, and put in your specific outcome. Provide the information in a table format, so you can be specific about the formatting, that includes learning objectives, key points, and learning activities for each lesson. So again, really specific. All right, so if I go back now to my chat, I'm sticking with that retirees, that ideal persona of Mary, the legal consultant. So as you continue through your chat, it will remember. You don't have to keep putting that information in each time. It's only if you're starting again. So I said, can you help me design a 5-lesson online course on number 3? So that was the choices that it gave me for topics, right? Branding your legal expertise. I said the course should help new retirees set their new business apart from competitors. It should include creating a unique selling proposition, developing a personal brand, and leveraging content marketing to build their brand. I said, provide the information in a table format that includes learning objectives, key points, and learning activities for each lesson. All right, so this one, you can also put these into bullet points as you go through. So I have it in one big paragraph, but you can actually press Control Enter and do bullet points also whenever you have a lot of different information to put in. And it came out with that table because I told it to do that table. And it did the lesson, learning objective, key points, learning activities. Now, this is pretty high level right here. All right, you've got understanding branding and business. Okay, yeah, you'd want to do that. It's got the learning objective to understand the concept. So that's a good introductory for branding. Key points, what is branding? Why is it important? The role of branding. And a learning activity. Now, the learning activity, listen to a podcast or watch a video about branding. I'm not thrilled with that learning activity. I know from being a course creator that that's not really great. And you know from your own audience that that's not necessarily a great learning activity for them to understand branding. Especially, say, if it's someone who's very busy, they're not necessarily going to listen to a podcast. You should be providing that information. So this again gives you ideas. It's saying to do a lesson on branding, a lesson on unique selling proposition, because I told it to developing a brand, content marketing. Now, what you're going to find when you do some of these course design ideas is that some of its lessons that it proposes are really full courses all on their own. Hang on, let me get a sip of water. So like content marketing for brand building, we have a whole course on that. That's a big topic. Developing a personal brand, that's a big topic as well. So this is already a pretty high level course. And you could break each one down and ask it to break down. So we've got, but again, I'm doing a demo here, so I'm not going to go crazy on it. Unique selling proposition, it's got the learning objective is to create a compelling USP that sets your business apart. Key points, what is it? How to identify it, how to communicate it, and a learning activity could be doing a SWOT analysis. That's pretty hardcore for someone who's a beginner. So again, use your judgment, use your experience. And it's saying, remember, each lesson should build upon the previous one. So it's giving you a little bit of tips in there too. So I'm saying, And I think I put this on the slide as well, that you want to also break it down. Right. So now's when you really want to start pushing. So when you're doing any kind of prompts and asking ChatGPT for stuff, you have to follow up to drill down further. Don't accept the first response. The first response will be a little high level, no matter how much detail you give it. So you need to specify what you want it to break down further. So break it down into key steps the learner needs to know, give examples, more creative. You can ask it for more creative learning activities, ask it to say what materials they'll need, and then you can continue on to lesson 2. So you can just say, can you do the same thing? You don't have to repeat it all. So in the chat, I'll go back. I said, can you break down lesson 1 into key points the learner needs to know? Give examples for each point. All right. So it started doing that. So now we're finally starting to dive into a little bit more. All right. Just looking at comments. Liz said you just got here. Love the tutorial. Excellent. I hope it's helpful. I am moving pretty quickly here, but I'm going to keep going through because you're going to see we've already been half an hour in, and you can see that I'm just doing lesson 1, and we've seen that it's pretty high level, but we're starting to drill down. And this is just on the design, not the content creation side. So, and Liz, there will be a replay. You can see it in the same place. You can also see it on YouTube and LinkedIn, but you can definitely watch it in the same place. All right. So it's diving deeper because I told it to dive deeper and break it down into what is branding, why is branding important, and seeing. You'll already know your topic doing this. You need to know your topic so that you know whether it's correct or not. Because as I mentioned earlier, it can hallucinate and just make stuff up to make you happy. Not necessarily trying to make you happy because it can't think that way, but it wants to put an output. So you need to check that. And there'll be more stuff that you want to add. So what is branding? Why is branding important? Okay, this is good. Recognition, trust, attracting your target audience. And if you already know your topic, again, I mentioned earlier that it can be great for reminding you of things that you should be covering, that because you're an expert already, maybe you forgot about that it's important. So recognition, trust, it's got good points on each one. And I like that it writes in full sentences and proper grammar, one less thing to worry about. But the examples aren't always so great. So like for recognition, it says a strong brand makes you immediately recognizable to your customers. For instance, think about McDonald's Golden Arches. You'd know them anywhere, right? That's not a great example for your target audience. I wouldn't have used that, and I would ask it for new ones. It's using examples of Amazon. I always try and push it to use examples because that's what's going to enrich it. And it also will show you where you will want to replace the examples. Okay. Attracting target audience. It's the role of branding and differentiating your business. It's got all that. And then it did suggest learning activities. So for learning activities in lesson 1, encourage your students to reflect on these examples and consider how they can apply the principles, etc. And then I showed you the next prompt that I showed you was, can you suggest 3 more effective learning activities students can do? So to apply what they learned in lesson 1, include the materials they will need. And it came up with new ones, which is great because I didn't like the other one. And you may buy a white label course and look at the learning activities that we've put in and not like one and want new ideas. And you can do the same thing and just copy, paste in a whole lesson and ask ChatGPT to come up with new, more creative learning activities based on that lesson's text. And you can paste it in. So I'll show you a little bit of that later where you can paste stuff in and ask it, which is great for when you're working with an existing course. But here we're coming up with new ones for that one where it suggested you just listen to a podcast. So here we've got brand identity collage. They can create a collage representing the potential identity of their brand. They can pick 3 well-known ones and dissect their branding elements. So that gives them some depth of understanding. Brand vision statement, ask them to write a vision statement for their brand. That's pretty tough because you haven't told them what a vision statement is. It hasn't gone into that. So while it's a nice creative idea, they're not going to be able to do it. So think about that when you're creating a course. Again, use your expertise, use your logic, think from the standpoint of the student and say, well, this is somebody beginner, they're not going to know how to do it, so it's not a good activity. But I've gotten some good ideas here. And if your audience likes more hands-on stuff, that collage could be great. And it has some suggestions, like it can do it digitally. Visual helps them think more creatively. And I could also ask it, okay, can you break that down into steps? So take number 3 and break it down. I think I did that later, so I'm gonna show you that. And then I said, can you do the same thing for lesson 2? That's all I had to say. Lesson 2, which was the unique selling proposition. So it remembered that. It remembered what the things I asked for and everything else, including the learning activities that I'd asked about, more creative ones. So here are the key points on each one, and here's some more creative activities. All right. Now you can keep going further. Like I said, you can follow up and say, well, I don't really like any of those. Can you come up with 3 more? Can you lay it out step by step? Can you put it in a table with the materials needed next to each one? Can you put timing on it? You can get whatever details. You may not like the results. It may not be exactly right, so you'll use your judgment here. This is your assistant to help you come up with ideas. Then you use your judgment and your insights to know what's going to work best for you. So I'm not going to keep drilling down on this particular one because we're moving along quickly. So now comes the course creation side of it. So you would keep going through all of that, drilling down on everything. And then, lesson 3, lesson 4, lesson 5. And then we come to creating the content. So I mentioned before that you can tell ChatGPT to act as a certain type of person. You can say, I am a business coach, etc. Or you can say, act as a business coach, business consultant, whatever it is. And then say, write a student guide for lesson 1 of my course on whatever topic. Do it section by section. If you already have the outline of the course in there with the key points, you can have it go section by section and it will remember. Otherwise, you have to give it more details, like give it the outline of lesson 1 with the key points and the learning activities, and then ask it to write the student guide. I would repeat again what the topic is, what the course audience is, and then say, based on the outline, I will paste below. Now, this is where I'm saying you can paste in the outline versus going by what it said earlier. So say you go back and you want to revise that outline because you didn't like it. Here you can either continue the conversation, that same chat, or you could start a whole new one and give it the details, lessons about this topic, and you have to explain each step of the process for whatever the outcome is. And then remember, before I said you can use bullet points to actually put in more instructions. So you can have bullet point underneath, use a conversational instructive tone, include one real world example for each step of the process that your audience can relate to. Structure the text with headings, so multiple bullet points here. Subheading, so I'm telling it how to structure it as well. Numbered lists, include a maximum of 3 key takeaways in the form of bullet points. Limit the length to 500 words, and then say, here's the outline of lesson 1, and you paste in your new outline, which is just copy your text. It doesn't have to be some amazing formatting. It'll look at it and put it into quotes right underneath. So let's jump back over and look at that. So I've done that. I've said, now we need to write the student guide, act as a business coach, write the student guide for lesson 1 of my course on branding a new business for my audience of new retirees based on the outline we've done so far. So I'm not pasting in the outline here. Explain each key point in the lesson, use a conversational instructive tone, include one real world example for each key point, structure the text with headings, subheadings, bullet points, and numbered lists where relevant, include a maximum of 3 key takeaways. So all that stuff I just said. And then I said, use the brand collage learning activity. So it should remember that from before and then limit the length. So I've given it the instructions and it's come up with some student guide content that you can use as your starting point. So hello there. I would never write that. So put it in your own words as well. Welcome to lesson 1 of our journey into branding your new home-based business. Today we'll be uncovering the magic of branding and why it's crucial for your business success. One of the things that I'll show you later when you're working with an existing course is it's really easy to get ChatGPT to just rewrite your introduction. I almost always do that. In fact, I always do that. The introduction is one of the most important parts, and you can tell it, do it for this audience, use this sort of tone, make it more compelling, all that kind of stuff. And then it'll go into key points. I told it to structure it with headings for each of the key points. So it's put in key point 1. I would take that out. So it doesn't need to be in there, but it has a little detail on each one, not a ton. Why is branding important? This is basically stuff it took from before. It hasn't really elaborated that much, but it's put in a nice format, just very short. There really isn't enough text or explanation here. It has put in the brand identity collage, but I need more detail. This isn't enough. So I said, now expand the lesson to simplify the language and to include more details on each point so a beginner can understand. So that's a kind of phrase that should get you more results. You can even say something like, so that a 10-year-old could understand it. So that'll help you. So expand, add more content, you try out different words like that. And I said, break down the learning activity into steps and recommended materials needed. I think I mentioned that earlier. So let's see how much more it added. It had the same intro, really didn't add all that much. It simplified and added a little bit on what exactly is branding. So it said, for instance, let's think about our friend Joe. Joe loves making artisanal cheese right from his kitchen, but when Joe talks about his business, he doesn't just talk about the cheese. He shares stories about the traditional cheese making methods he uses. He talks about the wholesome homey feeling, yada, yada. And then it really didn't add a ton. So I would likely go in and try and push it to add more details in here. But at least you have a starting point. You can go in and add more details yourself because you know more about it. The learning activity I liked, though, the way it broke it down and put it into steps. So I've been finding it more helpful in that sense in the learning activities and getting it to structure it more. But so I pushed it a little bit more. I said, the explanation of what exactly is branding is unclear. Can you explain it to me as if I were 10 years old? So remember, I said you can ask it to do that. So now I've got a big section. Before, the what exactly is branding was just this little bit. Let's start with the basics, for instance, etc. Now I've got what exactly is branding. Imagine you have a box of crayons. Well, I did say as if you were 10 years old to explain it. All the crayons are the same shape and size, but there's more stuff. People visualizing. Let's use an example. You've probably eaten cookies from a bakery. So the other thing I would do at this point is ask it to change the examples to something that a new retiree could relate to. Same level of, and with the same level of detail, something like that. And you could get it to rewrite. Now we are currently 45 minutes into this presentation, and this is how far I've gotten. with lesson 1. So I just want you to be aware of that when it comes to designing a course with the help of ChatGPT, that it is still very time consuming. All right. I don't want you to think this is some magic pill. I see it more as something that will help you get better quality and variety in things like learning activities or things that you've missed, versus some massive time saver. I know people keep saying, oh, it's going to design the course for me and write the course for me. Yeah, not really. It looks good, but it's your helper, all right, which is hopefully gonna help all of us. But let me jump ahead now. So say you've gone through, you've created your first draft, because you're going to go back and edit and maybe drill down some more, but you've got that first draft of everything. Now you want a self-assessment of some sort, because you're going to want to have that. One of the great things, especially with online courses, is having some sort of self-assessment. And ChatGPT can help you with that. You can ask it for checklist, multiple choice, role play type thing, case studies, all sorts of different things. So I have an example, and I said each lesson needs a self-assessment at the end. For lesson 1, so it should remember lesson 1, create a checklist that consists of 15 questions that help students evaluate the mastery of the lesson topic. Format the checklist as a table with 2 columns. Now, here's again where you could just take an existing module, existing lesson in, say, a white label course, and say that you want a checklist to go with it based on the text in that lesson that you then paste in. You copy the text, you put it into the prompt and say just based on that. So there are 2 ways to work with this. So now it says, sure thing, here's a self-assessment. And it's got it in with a yes, no, with all the questions. Of course, you're going to want to read all of these and see if they are ones that make sense, that should be in there. These look pretty good. They're all yes, no ones. So not bad. I would go and tweak it a bit, but that's a damn good start. And then I said, okay, that's a bit long, because I actually meant to put in 5, not 15. Can you redo that quiz to be only 5 questions? So then it simplified it. So it's a quick yes, no that you could do. I mentioned you could do multiple choice. Now this one's a little bit trickier, and you can try. We've been trying to see if it can help us as well, and it's sometimes hit or miss. And you really have to be careful, because it can mark the correct answer. It can mark the wrong one as correct. But here I said, now let's create different type of assessment for lesson 1. Create a multiple choice quiz with 5 questions and 5 answer choices. Indicate which answer is correct based on the lesson content. Or you can say based on the lesson content below if you're pasting in like white label. And it's come up with it. So it said, question 1, what does branding represent for a business? Only the business name and logo, just the product or services offered, the total experience, the color scheme used by the business's office design. And it said number C, or letter C, the total experience a customer has with the business. Okay, correct, not bad. Check all the others as well. How does branding contribute to the business recognition? By creating a consistent and memorable identity. And this is good, because you know what? Quizzes are really hard to come up with. It's hard to come up with a variety of different things. One thing you do want to check is sometimes it gives every single question has the same letter answer. Like we tried doing one where it had absolutely everything as E, all of the above, because I said it could do one as all of the above. So then I had to go back and say, okay, can you randomize the answers? And it still marked a couple wrong. So be very wary of that. Here it's got D, D, C, C, C. I would want it to randomize a little bit more. I've got one question here. Shervone said, best payment plan. There's only one payment plan that ChatGPT has on offer right now, the GPT Plus, which is $20 a month. Or if you're in a VAT country, it'll charge tax and it'll be $24 a month. So that's for using GPT-4. That is the only one I recommend. I don't recommend for this kind of thing anything advanced using the default free model. I just don't think it's very useful. I mean, maybe some ideas and stuff, but you're not going to get as good output. And I certainly wouldn't use it for this kind of thing, like an assessment. All right. And for $20 a month, yeah, if it's saving you time and more importantly than saving you time, improving the quality of your output because you get better ideas and see what's missing and things like the assessments, getting ideas for better answer choices and different types of assessments, then it's worth it. What's the main this question 5, what was the main activity for lesson 1? Why would I even ask that? So that's why you need to check it. It's a completely useless answer. So I would immediately cut that out. Maybe you only need 4 questions for lesson 1. All right. And I said, I'll get to the rest of the lessons later. So, because I want to move along. Hang on. Go back. All right, so we did the self-assessment, showed you the multiple choice quiz. Now there's a lot more you can ask it to create. So let's see, we're 50 minutes in. I have not even covered the stuff on customizing current course content. So I'm going to go through this part, and then as we're going through, remember that you can do the same thing with white label content. So you have a course already created, you have the student guide, you have your slides, you have emails and blog posts, all that stuff already created. Then you can use prompts like this to customize it or add additional content that you want. So here I want to do an FAQ and I want to do a glossary as well for topics. So going back, I said, great, I'll come back to the rest of the lessons later. That's fine, it should remember. Now I need to create an FAQ to publish with my new course. What are the most common questions my students will have about branding their new business? Please provide the questions and answers in a simple Q&A format. And it's done it. And you want to read, again, every single one and make sure it's right. What is a brand? Why is branding important for my new business? How can I create a unique brand? What if I don't consider myself creative? I have a small budget. Can I still create a powerful brand? How do I know if my branding is effective? So these are like some sample questions and answers that you should read that hopefully also stimulate some other ideas, knowing your audience as you do and ChatGPT doesn't. You'll know what other questions they'll have that you'll need to ask. You might want to cut one of these, expand on one of them, cut down the answers. Let's look at one of them because I haven't read through all of them myself. So like, what if I don't consider myself creative? Can I still create a strong brand? I don't know whether that's really a great question people ask, but the answer is absolutely. Branding is as much about consistency and authenticity as it is about creativity. It's about understanding what your business stands for and how to communicate that to your customers. Plus, there are many resources and tools out there, some of which we'll explore in this course to help you with the creative aspects. That last sentence, depending on where you're putting your Q&A, may have to be cut out. You might have a resource list and you can ask ChatGPT in web browsing mode for a resource list for it to look up the latest resources. And you could do that in Bing or Bard as well. But otherwise, you'd probably take it out entirely. So that's pretty interesting. And then a glossary is particularly interesting. So we've got now, I always like to put my language in as if I am actually talking to ChatGPT, but still be very directive and very hyper-specific. So I said, thanks, now create a glossary of key terms from the course that beginners may not understand. Structure it in alphabetical order. So tell it how to structure it. So it's done a beginner-friendly glossary, things like audience, specific group of people that your business aims to reach with its product or services. It's really nice and simple. And it's got a whole bunch: brand identity, brand image, brand loyalty, content marketing, demographics, logo, personal brand. You'd probably want to add stuff to this as well. But it's a really great start, and it's already in the format that you want. So, how are we doing so far? Everybody still with me? I'm going to grab a sip of water. All right. Slides. Those pesky slides. Always difficult. So you can ask it to create slides and speaker notes and quotes and things like that. I'll warn you now, I haven't had a ton of luck with creating good slides. We're still doing it all. But if you have an outline, it will help. So I've got, okay, I also need slides for each lesson. Let's start with lesson 1. Again, you want to go section by section. Create a minimum of 6 slides. And I say that because in the past, I've asked it create slides and it just comes out with maybe 2 for a lesson. You want enough where you have enough to talk about. So I said 6 slides with bullet points for each key point in the lesson. Include no more than 2 bullet points per slide. Propose related visuals for each slide. And that's really helpful. Someone asked me about that last month when I did a training on using ChatGPT to customize courses, our courses, like white label, and the different steps, not just with the content, but in delivery and stuff like that. So if you want to go back and watch that, you might learn even more. So it said, absolutely, let's start crafting your slides for lesson 1. So slide 1, introduction to branding, definition of branding. Branding is more than just a logo or a business name. And then it's saying what visual you could do, an infographic showing various aspects of branding. So it's covering a lot on one slide, and it's basically expecting you to talk a lot on each one. You could also ask it to have each slide timing next to it, which isn't necessarily accurate. So slide 2, branding and business recognition. Branding creates a memorable impression. Consistent, strong branding leads to business recognition. And then it suggests a visual. Side-by-side images of well-known logos like Apple and Starbucks, instantly recognizable because of their strong branding. Just be careful on these visuals and the suggestions because, this sort of thing where it's out in the public, you're probably fine with, but you just want to be careful of something that could have a copyright on it, where legally you can't use that image. That's something that's being debated a lot right now when it comes to images and AI and stuff that it's coming up with. And you'll probably hear new stuff if you keep an eye on it every day about what's legal, what isn't. There are AI tools to help you create images, but there's discussion about the copyright on that as well. I won't go into that because the AI tools for images I find impossible to use because I'm not a visual person and you have to actually tell it what you want. But that's where it can be helpful to ask ChatGPT for an image suggestion that you could then use in those tools. I'm sure they'll get easier. So we had slide 3, trust in branding. And it goes through different ones that you would then want to put side by side with your student guide to see whether these do make sense. Are these really the right key points? Do you want to break up any of them? Do the visuals make sense? But it's a nice starting point. It's a nice outline. In our white label courses, we have these cheat sheet outlines, which are basically an outline of the module. And you can use something like that for slide ideas too. Or even take the slides and the text from the slides, which is in our cheat sheets, and ask it for image ideas, okay? And Microsoft Office speed tips. I know who you are, I just can't think of the name. Have to leave, but this is amazing. We'll watch the replay. Okay, I'm glad you appreciate it. Yeah, I was supposed to be done by now. Sorry about that. I'll try and whiz through some more. Okay, and then I asked it for speaker notes as well. So it did do some speaker notes, little explanation. This is the kind of thing where they're really just notes. You're not going to use it as an exact script because it's not going to sound like you, but it has some extra detail that'll give you some ideas. Like it has, it's much more than a logo or name. Branding encompasses every touch point a customer has with your business. Jeff Bezos, the founder of Amazon, famously said, your brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room. So that, you could take something like that and put it on a slide. It's going to give you good ideas there too. So it goes through all of that. Now I want to just briefly go into some of the stuff that's post content creation. All right. So that would be, and let me just go back to the slides again. All right. So more stuff on course content. One of the things that's really going to set you apart from anyone else who's doing a course, because a lot of people get really lazy and just have a video and some text, and they just say, okay, go do it on your own. Go, watch these videos, do the action guide. The thing that's really going to set you apart is any live elements and discussion that you do. And ChatGPT can help you with that as well. So say you send people to the first lesson, they watch the video, they do the action guide. You can say, what are 5 questions I can use for generating discussion and interaction when I teach this lesson? You could ask it for icebreakers, for kicking off, welcome videos, things like that. So let's see what it came up with. So I asked it that, and it said, here are 5 engaging questions. What are some of your favorite brands, and why do you think their branding is effective? Can you think of a brand that changed its image over time, and how did that impact your perception of the brand? What are some values that you want your brand to communicate, and why? A couple of these would take longer to think about, so they could be reflection questions. You can ask it for reflection questions too. So go through these as ideas and then think about what would work in a group discussion where people aren't going to have to spend half an hour thinking about it and can't just answer. But something like values that you want your brand to communicate, that's something they can usually come up with a few right away. And it really starts helping them visualize. How would you differentiate your brand from a similar business in your niche? If they've thought about all this when they watched the videos, if you recorded slides and they've read about it, they'll be able to start thinking about this, and you could even send them out in advance. If you were to create a slogan, what might it be? That's really tough. That's much more than a discussion question. So again, you can see that I'm going through this, and I'm not just taking what ChatGPT is saying and saying, okay, I'll just stick that in the course. I'm looking at it and thinking of it in terms of, I know who my audience is, I know what a discussion would be like, what makes sense for discussion where maybe I only have half an hour and I've got 20 people in there. How much can they really do? What might I have to give them in advance? So it's great ideas. Again, use your judgment. You can hear me say that over and over. And then we get to the sales funnel. So this is, again, a place where you can use white label content and help you develop more sales materials for it. So I said, I'll create the rest of the course later. Now I need to create a sales page for selling my course. Can you write the sales copy? And then I give it some details. The price is $297. It includes 5 video lessons with worksheets and transcripts. Include the benefits of the course based on the outline we did earlier for my target audience. So there, if you don't have that, you can say, include the benefits, which are benefit 1, benefit 2, benefit 3. You need to know that and put it in. Include a strong, friendly call to action to enroll in the course today. And I said, use a confident tone, conversational writing style, English language. You probably don't have to do that if you're already doing everything in English. So it put in a first draft. Empower your retirement with brand new beginnings. So it's put in a new title. I don't think I told it what title to use. Maybe I did, but you can say which one. So, hello there, fellow retiree. Ready to take control of your retirement and start a new chapter in your life? With the brand new Beginnings online course, we've got your back. I forgot to tell it to use first person perspective. So that's another thing you can do. Tell it to use first person, which is I this, my this. So it's jumping kind of straight into here's what you'll get. Here are the benefits. It's pretty short. So you can tell it to use a certain sales page model. So here I said, can you rewrite it so it follows the pain, agitate, solution model? Suggest other stories or content I can include to make it more compelling. And this is also where you can take something like a white label PLR sales page copy like we provide and work on it. Have it redo it in a different style, like the pain agitate solution or an AIDA or various other ones. You can get it to help write Hero's Journey. There's tons of different things. So it says here's a revised version, and it's got it broken up by pain agitate solution, but you're not going to put that in. You're going to use the wording. So it has pain, feeling unfulfilled, dreaming of turning your passion into profit, but don't know where to start. It's a nice structure. You probably want to change it, but it gives you the structure again. Here's what you'll gain, story, and it's suggesting some stories to include. So it's, again, a starting point. And I said, great, I'll revise that later. And I'm going to start going into some SEO stuff. So that's just a draft. And just real quickly to answer Kim's question, will it remember where you are in the session if it takes you several days to put the course together? Yes, it will remember. I've gone back to chats. If you can see on the left-hand side here, I've got a whole list of different chats. So right now I am in one that I did before, and I added something to it this morning that I had just thought of. And I've done that with other things too. If we have time, we can ask an extra question at the end. But it won't remember things from chat to chat. So if you're starting a new topic, always start a new chat. Or if you have one that's just completely gone off the rails and is just not helpful anymore, and you just want to start from scratch, start a new chat as well. Okay? But it will remember it. I just still always copy it and put it in a Google Doc because I don't trust it, basically. It's like saving anything on your hard drive versus on somebody's platform. It could just disappear. There could be a glitch. It's very new technology. You don't know what's going to happen. So always save it. You can just highlight it and copy and paste it. So where am I in here now? Let's see what we've got left. So we have a few slides left still. I went through the questions. We went through that. Oh, I was talking about what if you used white label courses instead. So you can see now how far we've come in a little over an hour, how much we've had to do, how much we've done. So how much time would you save if you used white label course instead? I think you can probably see that because after an hour, we have drafts of a variety of things, drafts of lesson 1. There's a lot more to go. There's a lot of judgment stuff to do. But if you have a course where you already have the research done, the course design done, the content done, the basic editing done, the slideshow, the sales funnel, the emails, then you can just work on these extra things where you're customizing it for a certain audience. So if we go to the next one, I'm saying customize for your audience. So there's things like titles, suggesting 10 alternate titles, additional content, like you saw earlier, said expand on this particular topic. So you can paste in a section and say expand on what is branding. Provide examples for, and say for a certain audience. So I think one of the examples, there was a whole section where it was very local for cheese or for crafts or things like that. You can say, provide examples or alternate examples that my audience of new retirees would understand or would be able to relate to. Language, you can say use more vivid imagery. Sometimes it goes a little crazy over the top with that, but it'll give you ideas. Tone, use a confident tone, use a conversational tone, use an empathetic tone, make it more professional, make it less formal. There's a flow thing you can say, use a mix of short and long sentences. So if you have some content that's very choppy and very staccato, you can ask it to add better transitions. I have not tried humor, but that's another thing you can do, different types of humor as well. I said you could get things like video scripts, case studies, stories, ask it for ideas for that. Ask it for a list of resources in browsing mode, infographic text, visuals, all those different things. And then there's the sales page copy, which I was just going through. SEO, you can say, great, I'll revise that later. Now I need some content to optimize my sales page for SEO. What can I write for my SEO title, meta description, URL that uses the focus keyword, how to brand your business, and it'll give you something that you can go back and revise. It even gave a URL that you could use as well. So not bad. And then I said, okay, I need some content to share my course. So again, this is great for white label content where you can just give it some information, give it the text and ask it, what are 10 longer social media posts I can use to share? They should be a maximum of 200 words. You'll get a bunch of posts that you can edit and ask it to rewrite too. Can you give ideas for a 10-part tweet series to share? And it'll come up with stuff. There's one emoji here, but you could also ask it to add emojis to each one. It's already added some hashtags, but you can again use this, edit it. What are some ideas for images I can create to go with my social media posts? That's always tough coming up with images, and it's really tough searching even. So if you're creating your social media posts in something like Canva, you need to be able to search and have something in mind. Now, let's see, we've got a photo of you, the coach. So post 2, it says an image of a sunrise or a road leading into the horizon, signifying the start of a new journey. Being visually challenged like me, that really helps. But what was number 2? Let's turn your passion into profit. Brand new beginnings guides you to build a distinctive brand. I don't really see how that image suggestion relates. What was number 2 here? Don't let retirement slow you down. It's not the end, it's a new beginning. It'll guide you on how to start. Yeah, that could work with the road. So that had the images. So go through it. It'll give you some good ideas. I like using that. I haven't actually used that yet for images, but I'm going to give that a go and then teach my team how to use it for ideas also. And then I said, what are some live stream topics I could talk about? So again, this is about promotional material, and it's come up with a bunch of different ideas for topics. I'm going to just go quickly through this now since I'm over time. I said, give me a script. Now, this isn't really a script. This is a rough outline, which is good because when you're doing a live stream, you just want to have talking points. So it says, greet your audience, explain the purpose, share some of your experiences or a brief story of why it's important. So you would then go in and make sure first you like the flow and then add in some details. But in this particular outline, it really is mostly Q&A and interaction and then examples. So that only works if you know you're going to have a lot of people. But it's, again, an idea. So once you have that down, you can get it to rewrite it, say it's only going to be, half an hour. I need more content, less questions. Give me an icebreaker question, ask for everything you want. And now I said, create the slides. So it's creating a slide, the slides for the topic that I picked, title, bullet points, suggested visual as well. Did I ask it for that? No, I just said now create the slides for the live stream, but it remembered from before that I had asked it for suggested visuals. So it says a friendly picture, an image or icon related to branding, a question mark or FAQ icon, nice simple things, but really helpful. And Connie, I'm glad this is helpful. Connie just said this is fantastic. I'm glad that's helpful. All right, let's continue through here. Getting closer to the end on this bit. So then I said, can you rewrite the script and slides so that video is no longer than 5 minutes long? So if it's not a live stream and I want to record it just as a video, how will I, what can I put in it? So introduction, and it says just address the top 3 common questions about branding. Ask people something. Now, if this is just a video, I could just cut that out and just go straight to some course promotion. So say it's saying 30 seconds, 2 minutes, 1 minute, 1 minute, and then a conclusion. And so there's a course promotion in there, kind of like I have not spoken about our website planning course, right? Which I haven't talked about, but I'll show you that launch today, and I'll show you the bonuses in a minute because they're really great. And I will be including in there a surprise bonus, which is all these prompts and some tips around using ChatGPT for course design and creation of marketing material. And I've added some to this. You'll just have, it's personal use only. You can't sell this, but it will give you a lot of, these are all different prompts. So things that you can get started with. So hopefully that will be really helpful. And there's a bunch of tips right in the beginning as well. So this is one of the bonuses. There's also one of our 5-day challenges and a guide for creating a welcome page for a welcome video. So let me just hop back. Not doing a lot of promo today. So then it also gave the slides for that. Did I ask it to do that? I said rewrite the script and slides. Okay, so it did do that. And it suggested visuals for it as well. Because before I had asked for it to also look at visuals, to do the different visuals for each slide. So it remembered that, which is great. And this, again, I don't think it will do stuff like that in the default free GPT, which is why I just recommend, and I'm just showing GPT-4. And then I said, what could I use as a thumbnail for Facebook for promoting my live stream? Now, I can't remember who asked before about would it remember. Kim, you asked, will it remember? So I worked on this demo a couple days ago. I've been working on it for a few days. And this morning I suddenly remembered, I can ask it about this. So I just went back into the chat and asked it this, and it remembered. And it said, your live stream's title, for example, live Q&A. So it's saying what I can do as a thumbnail, what I can do as an image, and including text. So it says your topic's branding your new business. So it did remember that, and it's giving me ideas for all of that. So all of that, we have been over an hour and 20, and we've gotten a fair amount there other than really a lot of the course content. And that's where I said the white label stuff is really going to be helpful. So like Siobhan, you asked, can you please clarify, did you say if we used one of your white label products, we could use ChatGPT to restructure to the niche we need it for? Mine would be marketing to self-published authors to help them market their books. Absolutely. That's where I think ChatGPT is going to be one of your biggest friends here. Why it's such a great combination with white label courses and other PLR, because you have the content. We've already gone through and done the research, used our instructional design experience to look at learning activities and things like that. Now you can customize it to your audience and the tone of voice that you want, and add any different things in there, make different flow, things like that. So I do have a little bit of a demo on that. And I'll show you, I'm going to show you really quickly on this so that I can also show you that bonus. Well, really quickly, I've got this big chat in here. This is partly because I pasted stuff in, so don't get too excited. So I said, I'm a business coach and I need help editing my course on how to plan, create, and launch a new website for beginners who are not tech savvy. And that is basically the course that we just launched that's on sale and that goes through. So there's some, you can even look at the web page to see what it's all about and copy and paste this in. So you can say, this is what the course is about, but I like to copy in the introduction. So you'll see everything in here if you want to go through that sales page before you decide whether to buy it or not. All right, whether it's useful. Website planning. So hopefully pretty easy to understand. So if I go back, I said I need help editing it. The course, and it's for beginners who are not tech savvy. The course focuses, I even had a typo and it still didn't worry about it. Focuses on the planning and basic page content, then goes into 2 options for creating the course themselves or outsourcing it, then covers some basic launch tips. So I've given it some background. And even though this is white label, can you start by suggesting 10 alternate titles for this course that will resonate with the target student profile you outlined? So this is if you were continuing for something. But if you have a target student, that's where you'd put it in. So if yours is marketing to self-published authors, you can say, I'm a, say, online marketing expert who works with self-published authors to help them market their books. I'm going to be teaching a course on website planning, and I need help editing my course. And you'd structure it that way, just fill it in. And can you start by suggesting 10 alternate titles? Here's the current course title, subtitle, and introduction of the content. So you're giving the full context right from the beginning. And I just went into the Word document. So for instance, in the student materials, the course book, I went right into there. See where it opens up. So I went right in and I went here and I just went through and copied up through module 1. I did shift C to copy, and then I went back into ChatGPT and I pasted it all in, just like that. I didn't worry about formatting it. The only thing I did was I put quotes around it and it pasted it all in, and then ChatGPT came up with 10 alternate titles that might resonate with your target audience. Now, I didn't tell it authors, so it didn't come up with that. But it gave a whole bunch. I would never use any of them as is. Most of them tend to be a little bit cheesy because it's pulling from a database where you're going to see a lot of common phrases. So you're going to see, they don't have one in here, but you'll often see the word revolutionize, game changer, next level. It's got toolbook and toolkit and handbook and boot camp. Some of those are fine. You know, those are things, it's people are going to relate to those sorts of words because they're used to seeing them. But you could also ask it to come up with more creative ones and then just pull what you want. I'm just going to say go with number 3. And then I said, okay, can you read the introduction again and suggest additional content I can add to it that will make it more compelling and motivating for my target audience? So then it will go and rewrite it for your target audience. So you've taken something that's more generic in the white label, told it what your target audience is, asked it to rewrite it and suggest additional content. I've had cases in the past where I've told it to suggest something and it actually does list suggestions. So it did that, like I said before in an earlier example, I think with the sales page copy, to suggest stories. And it did that at the bottom. But here it's done it. And I didn't say what tone, so I'd want to adjust that. So you might have to rewrite it more than once. But it's got a whole intro that's a little bit different. But it hasn't gotten rid of things. So I think I said, one of the things you might want to add in there that I'm trying out is to say without removing any substantial content, because otherwise it can start to make it more concise and shorter, and you don't necessarily want to lose anything. So it's got all of that rewritten, and you're just going to read through all of it. And again, what I like to do is have something side by side and just pick out bits that I like as ideas. All right. I would never, and you should never copy and paste it. And you should always read through it because it's not going to be exactly the way you want. But the nice thing is, because you're starting with unique content, because we write ours from scratch and we're just getting ideas, this will be unique as well when you rewrite it. And because you're making it for your target audience, it's going to be unique. So then I need some new examples. Again, this is how I always say, make it unique, add in new examples. So let's start with lesson 1. For each of the key points in the lesson, can you suggest a real world example that will resonate with my target student? And I just went back into the course book and I took, it's called a module here, so I had to change it to lesson when I copied it in. But it's got pros and cons of websites, your website's purpose, turn your purpose into a measurable goal, more than one goal, how to write a website goal, type of website you need. So it's actually a fairly big lesson. And in here, I asked it for all of that for examples, pasted in the content again, and then said, okay, here's some real world examples for each point. The need for a website, the pros and cons of a website. If I had specified the target student a little more closely, like an author, then, and said it has to be things that my target student who are authors would relate to, then it probably would not have put in an example of something like a local bakery. It's just put in a range of things. So people that are more tech challenged. So that was really helpful. Going to give you some ideas. Siobhan said, is there a limit on word count to copy and paste for rewrite into ChatGPT? I haven't tested that. I think it's been getting for GPT-4 longer than it used to be. It used to be, I don't know, like 1,500 words or something. But I always like to do it section by section anyway, because otherwise you're going to get a whole long text and you're not going to know how you want it to revise it. But if you ask it to do one section, you refine that section so that you have the right questions asked. You know you want it conversational and that question worked. You know you want examples of a certain type, and that worked. Then when you do the next section, kind of like when I was doing the design and coming up with learning activities, you can just say, okay, now can you rewrite the next section the same way? And it will remember it. Okay. So that's much more, that will work much better and be more efficient. So it went in and did the examples. And this is where I was talking about without removing substantial content. So for editing, can you rewrite the entire lesson 1 using correct grammar and sentence structure and without removing any substantial content? Use a conversational tone in the first person and include the new examples. So now it's got everything in here, but it's all text. And I don't want it as all text because that doesn't read well for a student. So I said, can you also format the text with headings, subheadings, and bullet points where relevant? So it's formatted it. I don't like the way it's formatted it with the real world examples, but it's given me ideas for it. Maybe if I'd asked it from the get-go to include headings and subheadings, then it would have worked out. It's gotten, now's when I started having a little bit of trouble without having enough detail. It started losing it. So now can you expand on each section with more details? Easier for a new business owner to understand. So it gave me a little bit more. It was kind of not really working out. So then I just said, now can you do the same thing for lesson 2? Add more detail, make it easier to understand. Here's the content. So that's where I'm saying, Sharyn, that you just want to do section by section so you know what to ask it. And it's doing a little bit better job this time, but in the same format. The image stuff. So I'm going to try and wrap up here. But I mentioned before that you can ask it for image ideas. You can also ask it for a good concept model. So something where you want a visual to help people understand. So I said, can you suggest a good concept model I could use to help people visualize the points in lesson 2? And this is the way it gives an idea for a visual. Hopefully that might be helpful for you. Maybe you could give it to somebody who could do something with, I said I'm not very visual, so I actually didn't find this very helpful. But that's the kind of thing you can push it to test out and see whether it would be helpful. It's saying the persona should be at the center of your website, marketing strategy. Oh, this is just saying why it's important. So I said, okay, how could I depict that in an infographic? Because that wasn't very helpful for me. And it gave some ideas, title, where to put an image, where to put stuff. So that was kind of helpful. And then that's something I would try and outsource to somebody who's more visual. And then I said, okay, I'll do the rest of the lesson later. For now, can you rewrite the following sales page copy? So here I took the white label copy like we give in our upgrade packs. So like here we have sales copy. So I took all of this and I pasted it in. I gave it some directions going back. Uh-oh, I think I just blanked out. Hopefully you're still there. My screen just went black for a second. Let me know if I lost you. I think I'm back. All right. Hopefully you're still there. I guess that's my signal to try and talk even faster. So I gave it some directions, pasted it in. I said, suggest other content or stories. I said who it was for. Can you make it more stories that I can include to make it more compelling? The sales page copy has placeholders for personalized content, suggest content I could fill in there. So, and Al, I'm glad this was really helpful. You can definitely see the end of it. I'm definitely going longer. I knew this was going to take longer than I thought, but I'm glad it was helpful. So I pasted all that in and it did come back with some new sales copy, though much shorter. So it had different things in there, much, much shorter. So that's where I said ChatGPT sometimes shortens things. I also forgot to tell it was from first person. So I said, put it in the first person perspective. So it did that as well. I'm still not crazy about the flow. So I said, okay. Oh, actually what it did, and this is interesting. Let me stop for a second. So it did the first section of the copy, and then it said, let me know if this tone and level of detail work for you before I proceed with the rest of the sales page copy. So it did actually stop and ask me that. It does that once in a while for something longer. And I said, okay, you can continue. Sometimes also it will stop at some point and not quite finish, but you'll see a little button that says continue generating. So if it pauses, you can click that button and it'll finish up. So then it did continue and do the rest of the sales page copy. Then I tried that pain, agitate, solution model that I talked about before, gave an example of. I asked about images, so I showed you that before, how you can ask for images. It gave me a whole bunch of ideas. And then also video. So this is all stuff I was just doing this morning so I could show you. I asked for 3 possible 2-minute video scripts for the sales page based on the copy we just worked on. And it gave voiceover and where to do a clip and stuff like that. And you'd put it into your own words. And it gave me 3 different ones. And then finally, that's the last thing. So I could go back and also add it to ask it to do like a 1-minute version as well. Are you guys still with me? Yes, you seem to still be with me. Let me just wrap up because we've been a long time. And I do want to show you that thing, the website planning course. So I promised I would just show you the bonuses, because I've shown you bits of things on how you can customize it, but I haven't actually shown you the content, any more content of the course itself. So the basic stuff you're going to see, you can actually see screenshots of on the sales page. So if you want to see screenshots, we have this slideshow in here that goes through, and you can see each piece. So what this course book looks like. So you'll have all this content that you could then use in like ChatGPT to just do sections. Try not to let go on and on and on and revise absolutely everything, because it will take you hours then to do it. And you can see that just starting from scratch with the course itself is really still a very long process. It's also a long process to write all the stuff. So try and just pick out things that you want to adjust for your audience, or move things around that you don't like, or write a different introduction. That's always really helpful to get people more engaged. So you'll see all the different things you get in here. Branding checklist, website brief, how to choose a website builder, freelancer research. So look, if you're going to outsource it, how the different tips and things you need to gather, questions, development plans. So there's a lot of stuff in this course. Summary cheat sheet I mentioned is an outline. That was the kind of thing that you can use if you want to do new slides, having that outline. But we give you the graphics in Smart Art, and we give you all of the instructor materials like slideshows. So let me hop though over to just one last thing, which is those bonuses, because you can see, going back one second. So course research sources list. This often gets overlooked, but we do give a whole bunch of resources, research sources, which is still really tough to do in any kind of AI tool like ChatGPT, because you do need to vet them all. So these are sources that we look at when we're creating a course. We include those in the materials, in the instructor materials, so you know where the information is coming on, and you can brush up on your knowledge without relying on some source that may or may not be good. All right. And then there's the whole lead magnet funnel in here as well. Okay. Promotion with opt-in reports and stuff like that. And then what we've got as a bonus just for the next few days, there's one of our challenge kits, which is content for running a 5-day challenge based on that opt-in report, and this welcome video guide, and those prompts that I was just showing you. So I took all of the prompts that I went through in this rather long presentation with the tips, and there are a few extras in here as well, including stuff on doing that, your own lead generation funnel. So adding a list building funnel, getting ideas for things like that. So in the course, let's open it up. I'll just show you that bonus. I should also show you the website URL, right? Wouldn't that be helpful? That's the URL for the sales page. So I showed you the sales page copy in the upgrade pack. Let's go to the bonuses, launch bonuses. So there's that challenge kit, which you may have seen something like this before. If you've bought any of our courses, any of our big courses during launch, we put everything into a 5-day challenge. So it's already ready for you with placeholders. So that will save you some time there. And there's worksheets for each. I haven't tried getting a worksheet outline with ChatGPT, but it could probably give you ideas, and then you'd have to have someone go and put it together and format it for you. So it's, time consuming. And then this video guide is really helpful because it's in DocX and Canva. I will show you the Canva version. You get a link, which is over in my other window here. I don't know what happened here. Let's just go into Canva and I'll show you. Oh, this is some new extension I'm trying is messing me up here. Canva. I don't know why that happened. How to use, where is it? All my different things in here. What to do, how to create a welcome video. This is it. I think we did it in two versions. So it'll show delete this, and then you'll get some intro text. So you can create something like this in a PDF and then send it to people, or just create it as a PDF that you even made printable and send it to people as an extra, or it could even be a lead magnet. So we created this as a bonus. This is one of these early bird bonuses that you only get in the first few days of our launches. And we only launch one new course each month. So you can see it's both kind of a worksheet / guide that takes them through creating a welcome video for their homepage. Because remember, the course is all about planning your website, planning and doing the basic content and stuff. So it was all about, let's just go into the course book a second so you can see the table of contents. I know you can't see this well. So you can see the table of contents in there. And that's all on the sales page, so don't worry about that. You can just read all about what's covered there. And that is that. I hope that was really helpful. Does anyone have any last questions before I sign off here? A little overtime. I see. I think everybody's probably exhausted at this point. Butch said, thank you. Wonderful job as always. I'm glad that was helpful, Butch. Again, you can look at, Connie said 1 more hour. 1 more hour, I'm gonna fall on the floor 1 more hour. There is a lot more I could talk about, and it would be, there's so much that's evolving every day, and I'm learning every day something new, and there's so many different prompts. It's a whole industry now that's coming up with prompt engineering, how to ask the right questions. But I think everybody needs to learn the basics and how you can get some valuable content out of it, what is working for you, what isn't. But be very, very careful, because it's such a time suck right now when you don't know what you're doing. You need to get some basic skills, but it will eat up all your time if you're not careful trying to push it. What I recommend is when you're stuck on something or you don't know where to start, then go over to ChatGPT and ask it some questions. Or, you keep a list of prompts that work for you and then use those each time. So when you're, say, customizing something, if you already have a description of your audience laid out, that's really nice to just be able to copy and paste into ChatGPT and say, I am this, my audience is this, they have these challenges and desires, et cetera, et cetera. Now I need help rewriting or editing this text, and you'll always be able to start. Let me just answer a few more questions. So Norman said, any idea what a company would be charged to have a custom course designed and created for them minus their written materials? I used to do course design for companies as a consultant, and I've never done one where we didn't create the materials, but it's usually an hourly rate because it depends very much on the company. You have how much analysis needs to be done. When we would do a proposal with an estimate, how much of their materials they already have. Most people will want you to write it, but you have to spend out time working with subject matter experts. But we usually charge an hourly rate of, I think it was $250 an hour, $250 an hour. And then that racks up depending on how big the course is. It could be $10,000, could be $20,000, a curriculum, a week. So, our courses are a pretty good deal. And then you could to spend the time customizing versus having a custom course created. So it's worth a lot there. Michael said, thank you. Connie said, do you host these workshops every month, Sharyn? Connie, I used to be doing, when I was launching stuff before, I was mainly going through the course topic. So I was doing something like the website planning one, and going through the highlights. But there's been such demand for the whole stuff with ChatGPT and some other topics that I decided I need to also do some sort of training on other topics. So I've been doing them once a month when I launch a new course. And then I'm trying to get some guest speakers as well. So like later this last month, I had Justin, I think it was just last week, Justin Popovich doing stuff on 23 ways to use PLR in 2023, which was really, really great. And later this month, I'm going to have Denise Wakeman and I think Andy O'Brien from the AI Success Club. And I know you know them. And I would love to have you too. So if you were willing to come on, that would be awesome. I need more people. Norman said, this was amazing. Thanks for doing this. You are welcome. And that's it. If you guys have any other tips and things that you've come across, post them in the customer group, because I think a good portion of you are customers, or even in our page or wherever you are. And look out for later this month when I have Denise and Andy from the AI Success Club coming and doing a talk as well, because that's been a big help for me too. And I'm sure we'll have some sort of promotion deal that they'll put together for us. All right. Take care, everybody. I am going to go have another cup of coffee to wake myself up, and talk to you soon. Don't forget our new course. Take care.